Why your linebackers suck in college football 25. This is another video in the series where we're going to be talking over more of the archetypes of every single position group and why they suck in college football 25, why they're not progressing or getting better, and what things you need to be aware of when you're building the roster for your team. Now, linebackers I have split into two different videos. I'm going to be doing middle linebackers and outside linebackers, since outside linebackers kind of take more of a dynamic role and that they also need to be to some degree an edge rusher based on what type of scheme you're running. So in this video, we're just going to stick to the middle linebackers because these are more of your pass coverage / run stopping linebackers, and they just need a different skill set in general. And the first one we're going to be talking about is the field general archetype. These guys are great at pursuit and tackling. They're a lot of fun to use because they have this ability called aftershock, which is an ultimate wear and tear added to opposing players on tackles. This can really stack up if you have a handful of these guys on your team, because this can really bring a lot of trouble to an opposing offense because they're going to start having some attribute downgrades because of the amount of wear and tear you're putting onto the other team. But when looking at an archetype, again, if you've seen any of the previous videos, you will know how the game makes these guys upgrade, and it really has to do a lot with what is the cheapest skill point upgrade. And out of the 6 ability buckets that they can upgrade, pass rush is one of the slowest ones. These guys are not going to turn into pass rushers. Same down here with quickness, and I mean quickness is pretty much like that for every single position, every archetype in the game. Just someone's speed, acceleration, those things just don't upgrade very fast, which you can assume on pretty much everybody. But just know that a pass coverage linebacker is going to be just that. He's going to be a pass coverage guy. He's probably not going to turn into a hybrid and be able to do both things. And that's the reason it can be so hard to find some of the outside linebackers as opposed to these middle linebackers, because outside linebackers in some schemes really need to be able to do both. Next is the pass coverage middle linebackers, and this one's going to be kind of interesting because you're really going to have to key in on what specifically upgrades for these guys, because they're considerably different than the outside linebackers, which we'll hit up in the next video. And if you don't want to miss that, I would definitely say to make sure to hit that sub button so you don't miss that video, because that's going to be a huge amount of information between this video and the next one to be able to help you set up your defense correctly. But these guys get so many abilities that are archetype specific. One of them is house call. Now again, some of the defensive backs can also get this, but I'm just talking for a linebacker perspective. This one is specific to them. It's the ultimate ability to catch interceptions and have unlimited stamina on returns if it's the platinum one. Otherwise, it just increases their ability to intercept passes. Knockout is another ability that they get, and it's actually a pretty underrated one because it increases the amount of pass breakups you get by hitting receivers as soon as they catch the ball, and it also decreases the amount of broken tackles off of those hits. Bouncer is yet another ability that they get, which is another increasing fatigue whenever you're doing a zone chuck. And lastly is robber, which is the ultimate movement in zone coverage. But again, these guys generally are better at speed, change of direction, awareness, and man coverage, which is interesting because that last ability that we just talked about is their zone coverage ability. When looking at the way that these pass coverage middle linebackers upgrade, you'll notice that the only one that's a slow bucket is yet again the quickness tab. But something that is interesting to note is that in the pass coverage category, they also upgrade their catching, which is something that was not an upgraded part in the field generals. They only upgraded just their man in zone coverage. So these guys also are going to slightly become better catchers over time. And from looking at the ability buckets and some of the abilities that they get archetype specific, it looks like these guys could be quite insane, but really they just never end up turning out to be one of the higher overalls in the game. It really is the field generals, and oddly a lot of run stoppers are even up there in the higher overalls year by year. So pass coverage linebackers just don't seem to get to the high end, high overall that you want, but they do make excellent users. Lastly, there's the run stoppers. And now there's two types of run stoppers when you look at scouting. There's athletic run stoppers and then just regular run stoppers. There's a little bit of a difference between the two of them, but once they are committed on the team, they both just morph into the same type of person, and it doesn't really matter from that point on. It just has a different part on where they start. But in general, the regular run stoppers are better at play recognition, but the athletic run stoppers, in addition to being solid at play rec, they're also good at acceleration, agility, block shedding, and zone coverage. They only get one archetype specific ability, and that is blow up. That's the ultimate ability to be able to beat impact block attempts, which can be an okay thing. I really personally like run stopping linebackers, especially for middle linebackers. I prefer the athletic guys because you can even have some high 80s to even low to even sometimes mid-90s speed athletic run stoppers, and they can make a huge difference for your defense. I mean, I love the abilities that they get with both helping in the pass coverage and in the run stopping thing, which is kind of a downside to pass coverage linebackers since they only get pass coverage abilities. So these guys get a great blend in their abilities, and also the way that they upgrade. Quickness is the only thing that is a slow upgrade tier, which is going to cost an eternity to be able to do that, but everything else upgrades pretty quick. Now, they do not get catching in the pass coverage ability bucket like the pass coverage linebackers do, but in general, they still upgrade pretty fast. I mean, they end up being some of the higher overalls year by year, and I like the amount of physical abilities that they can get just a little bit better than the pass coverage guys. Even though pass coverage guys can be nice users, and sometimes some of the safeties can come down into the box and become those pass coverage guys, but I really tend to prefer these athletic run stoppers. But again, like I said, the outside linebacker video is going to be a really good video to compare with this middle linebacker one because the same type of archetypes exist, both run stoppers, pass coverage guys, in both the middle and outside linebackers, but they all have significant differences between their abilities and the way that they upgrade, which is something that you really would want to know so that you don't end up making the same mistake and making some of your players suck on your team when they could be doing so much better. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. What kind of middle linebackers do you like? Do you have a specific archetype that you like a little bit more than any of the others? And did you learn anything new about this video? But I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, why don't you check out one of these ones?